Deep Dive Film School makes no claim of ownership of the film footage used in this episode. The film footage is owned entirely by the copyright holders. Also, we're going to spoil the hell out of this movie, so this is your warning. Welcome to Deep Dive Film School.
This week we're going to get into that one scene from Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, Sergio Leone. Oh my god, let's go!
All right, everybody, I am Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Pulcher.
And if you like what you see /here, please like and subscribe. You can find us in all the spaces and places that people find good media.
Yes, they do.
Oh, boy, I twisted it up on you that time.
That's fun.
So this is that one scene from Once Upon a Time in the West. You said that you watched this movie just recently.
Yeah, I bought it on Blu-ray and was like, I gotta watch this. Because I remember when we reviewed this originally when we did our Western Festival, literally like 14 years ago, 13 years ago. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
And I remember thinking, that's the best Western I've ever seen.
Oh my God, Charles Bronson is so badass.
Oh, he is. And very similar to, how we talked about Road Perdition and Tom Hanks' role in that, that both Henry Fonda and Charles Bronson kind of flip roles here.
Totally.
It's a super fun part.
Especially Henry Fonda, my God.
Oh, 100%. And that's the scene we're doing. That's the scene we're going to get into, the massacre of the McBain family.
Yes.
And, wow. There's a lot of scenes you could pick from this movie, very much like Children of Men when we did that.
The scene right before this scene.
So the first two scenes of the movie are like cinematic masterpieces.
Yeah.
Like
right
insane.
Out of the gates.
So this is the second scene in the movie.
Yep.
The first one is the bad guys waiting for the train to come in. It's basically all it is, but it is genius.
Yes.
And it continues here with the McBain family. Get into this a little bit, kind of what you saw from this scene.
So one of the things I think is really interesting just out of the gates is I love these plot points in movies where one character who's greedy or wants something specific is like, okay, I'm gonna set this situation up where I'm going to intimidate somebody, or I'm going to like kidnap somebody or threaten somebody. And then they go, oh, so I need to hire somebody to do that. Mm-hmm. And then they hire somebody to do that, and they hire the wrong fucking person, right? So I'm thinking of something like Fargo is a really good example of that, where it's just like, you're in over your head and you don't realize what you've done. And so we have the character Morton. Morton really wants this piece of land because he is a railroad tycoon, and he's like, I want to own this piece of land so I can have the railroad go through it. But McBain and his family, who the guy who plays him has this like very Captain Kangaroo kind of vibe going on with his big red mustache and his mutton chops and all this.
I think you're kind of doing this scene a disservice by trying to explain the plot, because the beauty of this scene and that first scene, like this first 15 minutes of the movie, is outside of maybe 3 to 4 lines is almost dialogue free.
No, I agree, and I'm just setting up.
We don't have that context, which makes this scene even better. The fact that he's able to envelop you and get you so bought into what's happening, even though you have no emotional ties to these people, no context of what's going on. So I actually think it's more interesting to not know what the
No, you're right.
Setting up is.
That's a really good point. And I think I was just trying to kind of like lay out the actual plot point, which is that this guy and his family, McBain, they were just supposed to be threatened and intimidated to sell their land, right? And the only little bit that we get is McBain saying to his daughter, I will buy you, you will have the finest china, you will have like the best dresses, like, because he knows that like this land that he has is worth a lot. Now, unfortunately, the guy who hired Frank didn't realize who Frank really was, which is the kind of dude who has no problem annihilating an entire family of people.
Absolutely.
This is 2 family annihilation episodes in a row for anybody who's keeping
here for
track.
Your family annihilation needs.
Yeah, all your family annihilation needs. Deep dive film school.
I think the obvious thing that stands out that makes this movie special and unique, not only is it Leone and Ennio Morricone who does the score, and just kind of what they do, but again, I talk about this all the time. the underrated aspect of sound.
Oh my
the sound
God.
effects here.
That's this whole thing is Foley.
Yeah.
It is so good. Because it's all it is like the whispering of the wind, the flapping of birds' wings.
Or not flapping of birds' wings, which is...
Crickets or no crickets.
And all the roses fall.
No crickets is so much scarier than crickets.
100%. And that's why he did that, right? And this movie is... I mean, this scene is actually... So this was made the same year as 2001. 1968.
Oh, wow, okay.
So think about it in that context.
Okay.
But think about just the tone. And in 68, you don't see a lot of kids getting killed on camera.
No,
right?
you don't at all.
I guarantee this was a shock to an audience that just went to go see
a fun Western.
A fun Western. You know, that...
I love John Wayne.
Yeah.
I never go see a Western. Oh, children dying. That's great.
Oh,
yeah.
Henry Fonda, he's great.
Yeah, I love him.
He's such a good guy.
Yeah, he's got those beautiful blue eyes
This
of
becomes
his.
like and Leone knows that, right? And
Yeah.
that's why he cast this. He had to convince him of it, of course, but at the same time, Henry Fonda is like, this is one of the most special movies I've ever been in, and the experience was amazing.
So
you know, he knew
cool.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
You know, he did Fistful of Dollars and Once Upon a Time in America and that kind of stuff, but knew Clint Eastwood and that kind of stuff, and said, should I do this or not? And he's like, absolutely, you need to do it.
Yeah.
And he did it, and wow, does he nail it. And the fact,
it's so
again,
scary.
very much like 2001, which is wild to think about, a movie starting the first 20 minutes or so, pretty much no dialogue, right? And also, it's just basically sound effects.
Yep.
So anyways, that
It's tension
to me,
upon tension upon tension upon tension. Like, that's what makes it so special.
and then you throw in the music, and it just controls so much of the emotion that this scene has, and it is a haunting scene. Like, it is shot like a horror movie.
That's exactly right. That was my feeling. Is it is shot. It reminded me of scenes from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, they're coming out of the desert.
Well, and
nowhere,
it's like
after
it's
just
so
taking down, the McBain family and Maureen, the daughter, who I don't know if you put a finger on this, but she looks exactly like a young Maya Rudolph. I don't.
Oh wow!
Go
Yeah.
look back and look at that. Completely like.
Oh, I could
whoa,
totally
what?
see that. That's really funny.
Anyways.
No, I completely agree. And there's something about like the two movies actually I thought the most about in this scene was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then another horror movie, The Hills Have Eyes, where you're paranoid and you're looking out, and the desert landscape can look so much like nothing while at the same time looking like a little bit of everything that like you can, and McBain is tricked 5 or 6 times in this scene of like, what was that?
The cicadas stop, right?
Yeah, and then it's like, it's
over.
nothing, and then you're doing stuff again, and then it happens again, and you're wondering what that next sound is.
But as an audience member, you're hanging on those sounds, right? The creak of a bucket, or the water, or her singing Danny Boy.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
and just little things that is purely audio, right? That you're just like, this is obviously building up to something. What the fuck is going to happen?
And to your point, not knowing anything, this being our second scene, the impetus is, and we talk about this a lot, like sort of the rules of movies. The impetus is we're going to be with these characters, so we want to know more about them. It would never occur to us that we're meeting a group of people in order for them to
in
be
the first scene. You're like, it's about this family. Right?
In order for them to be killed as the introduction for the character of Frank.
Yes.
That is cold-blooded.
Especially in 68.
I mean, and it makes you understand where Tarantino got these kinds of ideas from, because Tarantino does that all the time.
Oh, 100% Tarantino loves Sergio Leone.
So, because he
named one of his movies Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Exactly.
Come on.
I mean, but this idea of like, I'm going to introduce all these characters just for them to be victims of this bank heist, or just for them to be victims of, this sadistic, insane person. Like that concept at this time, like you're saying in 68, this is some psycho shit. right?
Well,
This is some
especially 'cause
Hitchcock psycho shit.
Yeah, you're setting up the family dynamic a little bit with him, with his boys, and how he treats his daughter. And looks like there might be something creepy going on, but you don't really
Potentially,
know.
yeah.
And their beautiful wife is supposed to show up, but you don't know who she is. Like, you
Yeah.
don't know the context of any of this, just kind of them talking about it. So you're like, why are you wasting this time of us hanging out with his family? And within minutes, you are encapsulated. You are also terrified of Frank and his gang.
Oh.
And like, it might be one of the best character intros like I've seen.
This is what I'm saying. They walk into the scene literally from nowhere, from behind these bushes. They walk into the scene with their dusters flapping in the wind, like the
You don't even know who the bad guy's supposed to be until he does that pan.
Yeah, but they're like the horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like, they walk into that scene, that music suddenly rumbles up,
Yep.
and we're like, oh my god! Like, it is so powerful.
Such a great
works
character
so
intro.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that pan shot is one for the books though. 'Cause
Yeah.
you do that, and then you get that Leone trademark of the close up, and you see those eyes.
Yep.
And one of his guys like, what should we do with him? This one, Frank. And he's like, and you don't even think anything of it. Honestly, they have 2 or 3 lines.
Yep.
He's like, well, now that you said my name out loud, here we go. Boom.
Yeah,
and then
fuck.
scene done. And it's another great
So-
transition into back to the train station where we get a train whistle.
Yeah.
But ruthless, harsh,
Such an introduction.
great economy of the actor here, with Henry Fonda, of course.
Well, turning it on its ear, right? Like, you're like, well, we know he's going to do a great job, but if literally we're like, here's one of our classic nice guys, right? In Hollywood, like these great wholesome actors, and he's the voice of reason in 12 Angry Men, right? He's the one who wants to save an innocent life. And here,
That's right.
the minute we introduce him, less than 30 seconds on screen, he kills a child. Point blank, because one of his henchmen said his name. And you're like, oh, well, shit, buckle up. Here we go. This is our bad guy for the rest of this movie.
Rewatch, I will confirm this is one of the best Westerns ever. I know
Oh, yeah.
Wild Bunch is amazing, Unforgiven. Like, there's some
Good,
great
the bad, and the ugly,
Yeah,
sure.
there's some amazing ones out there. But this one, for me, and the type of movies I like, holy shit,
Dude,
it's so good.
Harmonica
It's
is
like
one of the
3
most badass
So
characters
good.
ever made.
And you're saying that about Charles Bronson's nicest role. Right?
Yeah, I know. It's totally true. Yeah, he's the guy. Anyway.
Anyways,
just fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, just a beautifully intense scene. I don't know. It's very atmospheric and creepy, and just he's a master. He really is. Like, to be able to reel you in, and that's really kind of why we do these scenes. All these people are masters to some degree. If you can get us to talk about this one scene from your movie that is this effective, that it's worth having a conversation over. But
Dude, you
just
also
everything's great.
You also have to think, though, that like Leone was like, at the time, these were kind of considered to be schlocky, right? Like, these were like made on shoestring budgets. The reason,
sure.
they're the spaghetti westerns because like he couldn't afford to film these actually in the American West, so he's out in Italy doing these. And like now, yeah, they're looked at as these incredible films, but they were looked down at even more than Texas Chainsaw Massacre when they were being made. Like, I realize that I'm changing eras by a decade or so, but really, like, it's amazing to think that like Leone made these films and created these blueprints of tension and suspense. 100%. And then he'd put the movie out, and it was like, well, can you dub it to English? Because like nobody wants to, like, you're just like,
it's tension and suspense, and he's masterful at that, and that's probably mostly why Tarantino loves him. But like, also, this should be taught in film school to show you how to use sound effects
fully, completely.
I
Didn't mean to do that. I meant FOLEY.
yes, I know. But
Full disclosure.
Fully disclosure.
Fully.
But you think of like, would something like the scene in the apartment of Delicatessen ever be made if Once Upon a Time in the West didn't have this first 20 minutes like that? You know what scene I'm talking about? Delicatessen,
yeah, with the
springs,
the sex and the springs and going down the pipe and
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Both of those should be taught in film school. As like, this is how you use. Look, here's your show, don't tell.
Yep.
Right. This is what you do. Here's how you frame it. I know we're deep dive film schools, not accredited, by the way.
No, you can't audit this.
Yeah, no. But it is Wow, so glad. It made me want to
Yeah.
keep watching the whole movie.
Same here.
I didn't have 3 hours to do it again, but it's
But if you
an
do,
amazing
you
movie.
should.
Yes,
You
absolutely
definitely
do it.
should.
And I'm sure if you're watching this scene, it's only going to get you hyped up more. So
Yep.
very excited for this one. Thanks everyone for this week. Next week we're going to get into Persepolis.
Yes.
With our No Capes Festival, and our next That One scene is going to be from The Princess Bride. So hold on for that one. We'll be back. So like and subscribe if you like what you see /hear. All the spaces and places where you what?
Oh, can find good media.
Oh, that's right.
Dang,
Not as
man,
easy as
keep
you
me on my
thought.
toes.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.